Wow, Lagos is 50 already? Just like yesterday. Those days, Lagos was very, very small. And we were so proud of Lagos because all around Lagos was regarded as Igbo, a bush. People who were living even at Ebutemeta, because the railway created settlements in Ebutemeta, and there was a small population in Ebutemeta at that time. And some of them who come to Lagos Island, we used to call them derogatively Ara Okeodo. Actually, Okeodo became the name for Ebutemeta and Yaba and so on and so forth.
While we were young, we really enjoyed our childhood very, very much in Lagos. When Queen Elizabeth visited Nigeria in 1956, I was in primary school. So we were taken to Catabridge to line up so that when this vehicle was first, they gave us a flag. We were not independent that time. It was, we still used the British flag, the small ones for us, which we are waving to welcome the Queen Elizabeth to Nigeria. There are a lot of playing centers. We have Legbata playing field. We have Isalegbongbon. And apart from that, there are also a lot of clubs. The race course you people are seeing today, they used to have every weekend racing, horse racing. I remember that time one popular horse, they said the horse has one eye. He's always been winning most of the competition because I think they call it Sanu Mutuchi.
When I was growing up, my Lagos was the cleanest of places. We had great discipline. No matter how lowly your home was, your priority was to keep it clean. You didn't even have running water inside the house. You have to go few steps after your house to the main water pipes provided for the community. You lived in little agboles, little settlements, where you had several families living in the same compound. Those little settlements, they also have big trees around the compound where the elders will gather. When the children come back from school, you see find one of the elders in the family that will tell children stories under the moonlight. Telling stories under the moonlight, it's not a myth, it was a fact. And it wasn't just done outside Lagos, it was also done in Lagos because that's how we built up our own community. That was home, but we all used to look forward to it.
When I talk about social Lagos, when I was growing up, it was only more festivities structured around the cultural mix. We knew about the masquerades, Igunu, the tall masquerade that is of Nupe tradition. Of course, you had your festival, not as organized as it is now, but all the elements were there.
The Eyo festival was limited to the Lagos Island. Traditionally, the Eyo festival celebration never ever crossed the Kata Bridge. It was unheard of, it was taboo. But when the military took over and you had soldiers becoming the governor of Lagos, and Eyo was being celebrated, of course, and gradually, because of the power of the government, the ceremony was enlarged. It gradually became a fun activity rather than a traditional, serious observance. It became fun. These are the changes that have come about. There are so many things which traditionally were unheard of for someone who was born in Lagos Island and who grew up in Lagos Island.
One thing that hasn't changed much is the Eyo festival. The Eyo festival for us in Lagos is our Christmas. We find that our children from different parts of the world and of course different parts of the country, they all come just to be part of the festivities. I did say it's our Christmas, but when you have Christmas proper, the Muslims, the Christians, the traditionalists, we all join in.
Communities then, when we were young, you had the Ologbowo, you had the Obalende, and so on. And there was a very healthy rivalry between them, especially during festivals. In particular, Easter, there was something known as the Gareta, when people came out in imitation of the bullfighting called Meboi. There would be like a masquerade of the bull, and people will follow and sing Meboi, 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 Meboi. Boy is bull, but it came Meboi. We didn't know it was bull. We just chanted the song, and it was very, very interesting. These are reminiscences of those days, which were so interesting, so colorful.
You had limited number of nightclubs. Of course, legally and technically, I was too young to be allowed into a nightclub. But Lagos will always be Lagos. There were ways. The gate man, a few tips, his way, and they will allow you to smuggle it. I remember Fela was not my time. Fela came much later. But I remember Bobby Benson, Victor Laia, and those were the high days of not this your hip that you do now.
Social life was such that there were always street parties. And I remember that it was in one of those street parties that my husband and I actually met. When we were courting, we used to go to many mama put areas where it was fun to just buy rice in leaves and eat it inside your car. Ikorodu people are very, very sociable. We love parties. I remember that many were always looking for one excuse or the other to have, to celebrate something. It would either be, one tefada, okay, one yokupada. But a lot of parties were celebrated in the evenings because people didn't have to be security conscious. Parties were usually all night. It took years after that before people would say no night parties, please. So Lagos was very secure.
Right there on Friday night, when everybody is back from work, holiday starts, enjoyment starts, until Sunday evening, talking about the creation of the state and the role of the traditional institution. The traditional institution has always been very, very effective and have made very significant contributions, and they are still making. General Adebayo was the governor of the whole of Western region at the time, and my late husband, Major Kunle Legbede, was his 2IC. At that time, the traditional institution was highly respected, highly revered. And whenever the Oba goes to the head of state, he will reassure him and say, don't worry. And lo and behold, the next day, he calls his people to order.
In my time, when you got to Bar Beach, you know you've got to the end of Lagos. And now see what you have. It was at that time that a policeman riding a bicycle will be sent to go and arrest somebody. The policeman will remain on the bicycle riding back to the station, and the accused will be running behind the policeman, to the station. If the man tried to escape, where will he escape to?
Before, when I was growing up, I used to sit on the window on my house in Idoluwo by Reclamation and count the number of cars. Not just count the number of cars, write the numbers of cars. That's how few they were. We used to have just the Kata Bridge, and that was supposed to be a big thing for us. When people came into Lagos, they saw this long expanse of bridge running across, linking the island with the mainland. Since then, we've had Eko Bridge, then we have Third Mainland Bridge, then you have the new ones that are coming up. Now we're going to even have a rail track bridge crossing the mainland into the to the island.
The traffic was okay. Sanitation was, at that time you have this wole wole in Lagos, where if anybody who sees wole wole coming, that they look like you even fear them more than police. And the traffic at that time was okay. it came to a stage where traffic was becoming another thing, where the government had to organize odd and even number, because the people were coming to Lagos. Lagos was developing rapidly. They tried their best, you know, especially what Alhaji Jakonde did. Everybody was happy, and that record is still, you know, up to now. Before he now became to our man, Bola Tinubu, Governor Bola Tinubu, Fashola, and Ambode, and everybody could see how the step they are taking and continue with the development of what the people who started first. And we thank God that we have not seen anybody who had disappointed the people of Lagos. And I am also happy that all the states now are using Lagos as a sample.
Of New York, and we all know Wall Street had become, over a number of years, all the most multinationals and as well as the large financial institutions were at Wall Street at that point in time, because Lagos provides very interesting opportunities. Then we all had opportunity to combine resources, and we have what we call the Zenith Bank. They are just at Adeogun. We built it, maintained it, light it up. Today is one of the most lit up streets in Nigeria that we can say that.
You come to a school in Lagos and you meet people from all over Nigeria. To have been privileged by the grace of God to see where Lagos is now is to know what human beings can do if they focus. What is possible to do with one's environment. Lagos had grown from being a village to a mega city, and it has not stopped developing.
I remember also that whilst living in the heart of Lagos, that people used to refer to each other by the registration number of their cars. I remember particularly the Ajala family was facing the Ogbara family house in Lagos, and there was a gentleman there whose registration number was LO4. Up till today, I don't remember his first name. I just know him as LO4. Just as himself and his brothers and sisters would have remembered my dad's registration number as well. And I also remember that my dad had just bought a Mercedes at that time. It was very new, and we used to go to school in it. I also remember days when the car couldn't take us to school and we would have to enter public transport. There was the LMTS and there was the Bole Kaja. The Bole Kaja vehicles were made of wood, and people would be seated left, right and center, and to be able to get in more passengers into the vehicle would start. They would start it on purpose and then apply the brakes suddenly to be able to allow other passengers to come in. I actually did get transported in that as well. I remember also that in Lagos of those days, you could sleep outside your house. There were no fences. Nobody cared about fences. There was little or no security whatsoever. I've lived 59 years of my life in Lagos, so I'm a Lagos lizard. So Lagos was very secure. I also remember that part of traveling in those days was about going by sea if you were going abroad. Very few people traveled by air, and I remember that even traveling by air in those days was through the airline called BOAC. And as a young girl growing up as a teenager, I remember with the nostalgia how I used to go and help my mom in her store. That was where I learned a lot. That has helped me to grow in my business, the various businesses that I ended up going into later on in life. Making it, as Nigerians would say, has been in Lagos.
At the Civic Center Towers, at the penthouse, we can overlook how beautiful Lagos is. Overlooking the Falmouth Bridge and the beautiful lagoon, the number 5 Cowrie, and all the beautiful structures above, and of course the ever busy Lekki Street, Lekki Concession Road, which is also the continuation of Ozumba Mbadiwe Street. We remember in those good old days, Fela Ransom Kuti, the Afrobeat king. We all used to go to Fela Ransom Kuti and go there and relax. And of course, such music as Shakara Oloje was our favorite. And a number of other, Fela was just number 1 then. We couldn't go anywhere else but Fela's shrine, the African shrine. We remember the African shrine, and that was a lot of fun for us. And of course, Bar Beach. We also used to go to Bar Beach in those good old days. Going to Bar Beach was like fun. You go there and sit and watch the water and watch the waves. And where else? What else is there to do in Lagos? Quite a number of things, a number of activities. Lagos is always very welcoming, very relaxing. Other than the hustle, bustle, other than the business activity, other than the profit you make, there are many places where you're going to blow away and spend those profits also.
Tinubu Square was bubbling in the sense that that square happened to be a place where all buses will come, get there, unload your passengers, and turn and begin to go to their destinations. The nightlife was something you want to enjoy and remember. We had the Crystal Gardens, which was a very prestigious club in Tinubu Square. That used to be the place where you have the central bank now. The square itself used to be a place of relaxation, and everybody who comes to Lagos would want to get to the square. Going about in the night in my Lagos was full of pride and full of joy. I have Victor Liars All Stars International Band, which eventually qualified to play at the Nigerian State Board as the most popular band at that time. Among my popular tunes, Elule Kò Sówó Lóde, Obìnrin kígbe, ọkùnrin kígbe, kálukú àti wọ́n pàápàá kígbe owó.
But it's easy to make money in Lagos if you know what you are doing. You must be honest and straightforward. And you have to know how to turn things around. You can't come across anywhere without working hard and honest and straightforward. I hardly know Lagos now. I need a guide to show me Lagos. For someone who claims to be born in Lagos and who claims to be a Lagosian, who is now living in what used to be Igbo, there we are. But we thank God for the development. There is the proverb that Obatoje Toso Igbo Dilu Kamaki Kamayi. It's just expanding and expanding. It's fantastic, the development that has taken place between that time and now. It's inconceivable. If I wasn't part of it, I would say no, it's not so. But there it is.
There's no limit, no end to the development of Lagos. Someone told me good days never come back, but we will prove to them that Lagos case will be different. Good old days will come back.
We all need to be proud of Lagos, what Lagos had become. And this is not the end of the road. And that's the beauty of managing Lagos. There is always something new to be done. The way bridges are being built in Lagos, even in what we regard as rural Lagos, something that is outside. And perhaps this illustrates what I have in mind by saying development has no limit. In the old days, you would just put the bridge there and everybody will be happy, linking one community to another. Now, when you are building the bridge, they want you to put lights there. This was development that the governor had brought.
Lagos is not like Dubai. Lagos has its own character, has its own line of development, and it's going to be a unique development that will encompass maybe Dubai, America, Switzerland, and Britain together.
Lagos has evolved and it is still evolving. Lagos is my best city ever. I will not live anywhere else.
One needs to pay compliments to the people who have ruled Lagos, whether it is the present one, Ambode, whether it's Fashola, whether it's Tinubu, or the military ones like Ndubisi Kanu, Lawal. There's a whole and development has never stopped in Lagos.
Lagos is the commercial hub in Nigeria.
Lagos is really lively, and there is nowhere compared with Lagos all over the country.
This is my Lagos story.
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 This is my Lagos.
This is my Lagos story.
My Lagos.
Eko for sure. Eko me.